Afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining our COVID-19 town hall for faculty and staff. We appreciate you taking the time to do this. We've got just a few updates for you today. We shouldn't be here too long, but we want to at least give you some of what's happened this week. Yesterday, we had the student town hall, and that went really well. And so I want to give you a quick update of what we talked to the students about, just so that you're aware in case students ask questions, you'll know where to direct them. So we talked about the flu season and the flu shot clinic that was last week. If any student did not partake in the flu shot clinic, they can still go to Student Health Services and get a flu shot. So they just need to, the same thing, call Student Health Services, make an appointment, and they can go over and get their flu shot. The same thing with testing. We're still encouraging any students that are experiencing any symptoms of COVID-19 to please go and call the Wellness Center and make an appointment to get tested. Also know and remind them that there is a quarantine that will go along with being tested so that they're not surprised when they get over there and they're going to be told about their quarantine situation. So we continue to be mindful and cautious about that as we're still dealing with it. We want to remind students too about their parents and getting parent information. So if a student asks you or a parent asks you about how do they get medical information for their students, please remind them that we have to have a form in their file to say that we can release that information to parents. So please remind the students that if their parents want information about their medical history, that form has to be on file. We have talked about the dashboard at length and how to interpret those numbers. And so we've heard you and we've heard the concerns about the dashboard. So we are working on a new dashboard that will give daily totals. Right now, that dashboard is in its final stages of review, and we should be able to launch that hopefully in the next week or so. And we'll bring a campus communication so that everyone knows when that new dashboard will launch. But we've heard your concerns. We want to make sure that we're getting information to you in a timely manner. It'll have new daily totals so that you can see every day where we are and how we're tracking with COVID-19 cases. So be on the lookout for a new dashboard very, very soon. We also want to remind you about how the numbers get to the dashboard. So please be mindful that testing does not equal a confirmed positive. So just because we test someone, that number is not going to be on the dashboard. Only confirmed cases are going to be on the dashboard. So remember, in the instance of us testing the students in Brown Hall, yes, there were 40 plus tests, but we had no confirmed positive. So those numbers are not going to show up on the dashboard. So please be mindful that testing does not equal a confirmed case, and only the confirmed cases are reported on our dashboard each day. We are looking at the confirmed cases that are on campus, and we're looking at the confirmed cases that are remote for employees and for students. So just be mindful of those two pieces. This week, the governor put us in phase 3. So we're going to talk to Jason just a little bit about what does that mean for the university for us to be launched into phase 3. Jason.
Thank you, Haley, and good afternoon, everyone. So obviously, we've been in this for some time now, and there's a lot of confusion about the phase 1, phase 2, and we had a kind of a pause at 2.5 and now 3. So again, Governor Cooper did announce yesterday that we're moving to phase 3 at 5 p.m. That comes effective tomorrow, Friday, October 2nd. And this will remain in effect till October 23rd, which is 3 weeks. So what does that mean? What does phase 3 mean as a state? So phase 3, I'll just highlight a couple of things, but large outdoor venues with seating greater than 10,000, they may operate at 7% occupancy for spectators. Smaller outdoor entertainment venues like arenas may operate at 30% of outdoor capacity, or, and this is a key or 100 guests, so whichever's less. So they're still limited to no greater than 100 people at these outdoor entertainment venues. Movie theaters and conference centers may open indoor spaces, again, to 30% capacity or 100 guests, again, whatever's less. Bars may operate at 30% capacity, 30% of outdoor capacity or 100 guests. Amusement parks, 30% capacity, outdoor attractions only. The key to this is the limit on mass gatherings outside of these outdoor venues and entertainment centers remains at 25 people indoors and 50 people outdoors. So 25 indoors, 50 people outdoors, that remains in effect. So you may ask, well, what does all this mean for campus? Not much is changing for us. We will continue to operate in accordance with our campus reopening and recovery plan. We will continue to follow our established guidelines through the end of this semester. So as a reminder, what those guidelines are, outdoor gathering and events will remain limited to no more than 50 people, and we will continue to encourage social distancing and daily self-monitoring. We will require the face coverings and promote hand hygiene. So this is stuff we've been doing this entire time. These new phase 3 parameters are still within our protocols and guidance, so we will continue to operate in accordance. And so all existing campus and community standards that we have been implementing and following will remain in place.
And Jason, how long are we looking at keeping our standards the same, at least until the end of the year, or is the governor expected to another phase, or what happens? What happens next?
Sure. So, I mean, long story short, I don't know. So there were supposed to be 3 phases, right? And now we're in the phase 3, but obviously this phase 3 that the governor announced is not a complete reopening, which is kind of what we expected. But also keep in mind, and again, hate to say it, but everything's rapidly evolving, rapidly changing. So they're going to keep this into effect for 3 more weeks, and we'll just have to see. But for us, instead of going back and forth and constantly adjusting and constantly trying to get new communication out, what I see is that promotes conditional confusion. So our restrictions, our limitations, our community standards and practices are currently in line. They're currently working. So we'll just keep those until the end of the semester. And then as the semester progresses, as we learn more, as the state continues to reopen, we'll adjust and look at spring accordingly.
Thank you, Jason. So this week, we also had a question about our laboratory safety and the cleaning procedures that go along with that. Can you talk a little bit about the procedures in our labs and just to help folks out there?
Yeah, so we had a question about the cleaning products and was it strong enough or effective enough, and should we be looking at alternate means of cleaning? So I will say that the cleaners that are being used across campus, including the lab spaces, they have all been vetted and all have been researched and have been deemed effective at cleaning and disinfecting all surfaces. And this includes against COVID-19. But I'll also say that we are currently exploring the use of additional what they call electrostatic sprayers. We have those in place in various spots across campus. We're looking at that more and trying to increase that. And so you may see more of those in use over the next few weeks, but we're constantly looking at new ways to improve and increase our sanitation across campus.
And remind folks, if they need sanitation supplies, what's the procedure?
Yeah, so with your building coordinators, put in a work order and through MainSaver. And so facilities is doing a great job and they're tracking it through that for documentation purposes. So you put in a ticket and then they'll get those supplies over to you as quickly as possible.
Thank you, Jason. We're going to talk now about housing. We're still experiencing some concerns in housing with regard to our visitation policy and reminding students about our visitation policy. Chantal, can you talk a little bit about our visitation policy and how we can help students ensure that they're following the guidelines?
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. We continue, as Haley said, we continue to face some challenges with our visitation policy, which is no visitors. Students are not allowed to have any visitors in their room or in the building. Regardless if it's their parents, they have to meet their parents outside, and they are not allowed to bring friends into the rooms, and which is our biggest challenge because they do gather. And we understand, as I shared with the student group yesterday, we do understand it's challenging, it's hard, but it is really important for them to adhere to the policy and really appreciating the assistance of faculty and staff in helping us get the word out to the students so that they can follow the policy. Because as I share with parents and students, when your student does not adhere to the policy, you're affecting the building, including faculty and staff who are in contact with students who are here in person. So this is really very, very important.
Chantal, I've heard that there are some students that are asking about room reassignments because of not feeling safe because of COVID-19 or concerns about wanting to be by themselves. Is that possible? And what's happening on the housing side to address that?
It is possible. Our room change process opened up a couple of weeks ago, and my staff is doing a really good job at processing those. What we tend to run into is a student who moved in and their roommate was not assigned. They didn't have a roommate, or they had a roommate and the roommate left. They put the beds together and they occupy the room as their own room. And we have housing has the responsibility to continue to move students to other spaces. So if there's a space that is open in a room and there's a resident in there, we can use the space. And we explain to students it's not because you are in the room by yourself or you were in the room by yourself that you can continue to do that. So we're getting some pushback from students about that, and they're also not authorized to use both beds because the empty bed goes back to housing. So we can go into the room and do that. So they are reluctant, but we also have students who are very happy with their assignment. They have been reassigned. They have what they want. They were very patient in waiting for the process to open. So they've reached, for example, they would reach out to us before the process opened. We say, okay, when the process opened, let us know what's going on. So we are doing a great job at that, at accommodating their needs. And we serve students in terms of on the wait list, on the room change list based on the order that they applied. So they had to go to an application process and the area coordinator, the hall director, they get that information and they talk to the students to make sure that where do you want to go? Is this a good space for you? Are you going to be compatible? So we do all that, and we also do roommate agreements. So we're very hands-on and making sure that the students get what they want.
So we're getting close to the end of the semester here, and I know that there's going to be some processes and some procedures for closing. Can you talk about the residence halls and the procedures that are going to be happening as we wind down the semester?
Sure. So the residence hall will close on Tuesday, November 24th at noon. We will inform students. We will communicate with them via email to remind them that it's time to go home. So after we do that, my staff will go back and check all the room, make sure that everything is in good shape for closing, because we don't want any, we ask the students to follow the directions. We give them step-by-step things that they have to do, lowering the temperature, making sure that the water is turned off, so the lights are out, because we don't want to have any pipes freezing or anything like that. Then the residence hall will all reopen on Saturday, January 30th at noon. Students will be allowed, that's for returning students. They will be allowed to return back and, and get reacquainted and resettled into their room and be ready for classes on Monday.
Thank you, Chantal. We just had a quick question. I wanted to issue a reminder about the flu shots. The faculty and staff cannot get the flu shot from the Student Health Center. That is only for students at this point. If a faculty or staff member needs a flu shot, they will have to make outside arrangements for that. So we do not have that ability to do that on campus. Jason, I'm going to ask you one quick question before we leave. Can you talk about the overall state of COVID-19 as it relates to the cases on our campus? It looks like we're trending pretty well and doing very well. Can you just maybe give us an overview of how well we're doing?
Yeah, so far we're doing really well maintaining. We obviously had the incident early out of abundance of caution. I wouldn't say incident in Brown, but saw a couple of increased cases and handled that very quickly. And so all those tests that came back were all negative. I'll also share that with the mass community testing event that we hosted on campus, the one on Tuesday, every single one of those tests, and I think there was 126 administered, they all came back negative. So those are really good results and good news. But I just want to remind everyone that we're still in this for the long haul. And when I say long haul, we don't have an end date. So this is something we'll be dealing with really, the rest of this semester. This is something we'll be facing, in 2021. And I know we don't want to hear that, in ways I get tired of even talking about it, but this isn't going away. So we got to make sure that we continue to do the 3 W's, wear your mask, social distancing, make sure we're doing proper hand hygiene, washing, sanitation, and really just trying to stay as clean as possible we can. And then also a reminder just about the flu shots. Make sure you get that. This will be a real critical year and probably a high influenza rate this year in addition to COVID. So.
Excellent. Thank you for that update, Jason. We've come to the end of our COVID-19 update for today. We want to remind everyone to please check the dashboard daily for any updates on COVID cases that are on campus or remote that are tied to WSSU. You can also check for news and updates on our COVID Connect website. So please use that as a resource. And we will most likely change the frequency of these town halls to monthly. So we will not have a town hall next week, but please keep a check on your email and we will notify you of the next town hall. Thank you all so much for joining us, and we will see you soon with more updates.